Story time about how I was used as a vessel for communication by a hat man. So, if you don't know what the hat man is, he's a tall humanoid figure, usually wearing a large brimmed hat. Usually, see him standing in the corner of the room, at the end of your bed. Some people call him an angel of death. Some people think that he represents shadow work. Um, there's really a lot of different things that people think about the Hat Man, like a lot of different reasons people think he's around. Um, so yeah. When I was about 12 years old, I well, I so back up. I've always been extremely sensitive to paranormal, to the ghosts, to all that. Okay, so I've always been able to communicate with ghosts, with paranormal. When I was about 12 years old, I we were staying in my grandma's house. She had moved in with her boyfriend, and we were living in the house. There had been different cases of activity in the house. For example, um, my grandma had fun, and when she brought home a man that the ghost didn't like, she had these whoops. She had these teacups in a shelf in her bathroom. And whenever she would bring home a man that the woman ghost in the house didn't like, she would flip the teacups. And she would mess with the guy in some way and basically try to scare him and keep him from coming back. Um, but so the room that I was staying in when we first moved in, I actually ended up moving, and my brother, who was 9 years younger than me, was staying in that room. But my mom was having a hard time getting him to sleep, and he was acting like he was afraid of something. He was waking up in the middle of the night, blah, blah, blah. So I was sleeping in that room one night, and I saw the Hat Man come in, and I was talking to him, and he told me the story about why he was at the house. I can't quite remember the story now. Um, I know something about he was the villain in the story. I know that. He was chasing a little girl around the house and something happened. I don't remember what happened. Um, but I specifically remember at one point in time, I kind of went into like this trance like state, and to where like I was aware of the fact that my consciousness and like my soul almost was like stepping aside so he could come forward and use my body for communication. And I remember sitting in the kitchen, I mean, basically all night long, um, just sitting there talking to my mom, and she was like asking him questions and I was answering everything. And yeah, I remember it felt like, I don't want to say like it felt like I lost time, but it felt like I slept, because like I just remember laying down and I remember bits and pieces of the conversation, but I don't remember everything. And I specifically remember the feeling of not having full control over my body, over what was going on, over what was coming out of my mouth. Like, I knew that what was coming out was not my story. Um, but I used to remember his story, but I'm pretty sure there was something like a little girl was living in that room, and he was like either going up to the window and watching her. I don't know. He might have tried to take her actually, and maybe he got killed defending by the parents defending the little girl. I really don't remember. Um, But yeah, so that was my experience with the Hat Man. I did see him again a few years later when I moved into my fiance's parents' basement with him. I remember there was a Hat Man. He would just stand in the corner, and at one point, my fiance had a what do you call it? An interaction with that, whatever was in the basement there. But yeah, there was also a time. I'm gonna probably save this for a part two or for another story. But there was another time that I lived in a house where there was a dad and his brother and his two daughters and the uncle, the daughter got pregnant and she killed herself because of it, because of what he did to her. And then his other daughter slipped and fell in the creek that was outside in front of the house and died. And then when the dad found out what his brother had done to his daughter, him, and then himself. So that's another story. I could definitely get into that. My first ever experience with actually seeing an apparition. She came in to protect me, but I'll save that for another one to keep this so short. Let me know if you want to hear the second story about the little girl ghost named Katie who saved me and protected me from my abusive parent.